made a reference after the Kansas game about what you're looking at, that maybe a lot of people aren't looking at, that through all the things that have happened this season, you've got a chance to be whatever the 15 in program history, third time with you as a head coach to get to 9 wins. A, why did you make a point to kind of bring that up? And B, what does it say about you go through 5 straight wins, 4 straight losses, and here you are with that opportunity?
Yeah, I think sometimes you, and not personally for you, but I think globally in here, a perspective of where are we and where, I think I always say this at the beginning of the season, you're going to tell your story at the end. And our world in this college football, and there's only 12 games, so there's highs and lows, and you got to kind of navigate through that aspect of it and have, perspective and reality to everything that's going on. And, I think those are the big things for our own kids is like, man, listen, there's been some really, really great moments, and there's been some setbacks along the way. And, I think the thing that's been so impressive about our senior leadership and honestly these kids is we have gotten better every week. And with a lot of different guys playing, we've grown, and that's hard to do in college football. I mean, 4 months and a week into a really long season, and this group really has just continued to pound away at the process that it takes to be really good at the sport of football. And I think we've always tried to be our best at the end. In some years we've been really good at the end, and some years we haven't. And I think that's what's special about this group. I mean, man, we got 4 days left to really prove that we had the toughness and the courage to just stay the course and continue to get ourselves better. So I think those are powerful things, and perspective and reality are certainly really huge for our kids to understand, what they're playing for and where they're at right now in the football program.
And maybe you lost amid all the linebacker injuries last season. Cooper Alexander, I know you were high on him. He has the shoulder, goes out. Now he's got an opportunity because of Gabe's issue to play more, and he's showing up more. A, how high were you on him last season before the injury? And B, just how much are we just getting a glimpse of what his skill set is?
Yeah, Coop's been really fun because, he earned a spot to play last year as a true freshman, which in that tight end room even a year ago with Steve-O, boy, it was loaded. And, was playing and got to play as a true freshman and earned the right, really had a great fall camp. You would probably say at some points the fall camp a year ago was on the same path as what Ben was as a true freshman. And, that shoulder injury was really tough. And so I thought we all made the collective best decision to kind of shut Coop down. And then that's hard. I think any young player that comes in and you're hurt right away, especially when you experience a little success, it's a real mental challenge. And Coop has really battled his way back. It's been fun to watch him kind of gain some of these opportunities. And, I think Coop, probably very similar to our team. He's had some good moments and he's had some moments that are growing moments. And, it was great to see him Saturday because I thought that was A, the most reps he's played in a game, and B, the most production he's had. And he's earned it. He's practices really well. I think he's got a great future in front of him, and we're really excited about what Coop brings to the table.
Matt, what do you like about, lining up big number 99 Vea in the backfield?
Yeah, he's good looking 99, I'll tell you that. So, I think number one, to his credit of his versatility, he's as skilled of a big athlete as we've had in our program. And I really mean that. He is a guy that can do so many things. And he'll be a great offensive lineman someday, but I think he's a guy that, we've been itching to kind of use and find ways to use him just because he has just flashed so much through the fall. Really how he's practiced. Honestly, can play defense, can play off, can do a lot of things just because he's a really skilled athlete. So, finding some ways for him to get on the field to impact winning is really big for us. I think, once we knew we're in that out of the clear of his 4 games, that we could still redshirt him and still make him a priority in terms of playing him. How could we find some ways for this young man to impact winning? And I thought he did a great job last week. Could do a lot of different things for us. And so I think his role only continue to grow, certainly as this season comes to an end.
And what can you say about Will McLaughlin and kind of the legacy that he's left as a guy who gave everything physically?
Yeah, I think Will is a young man that seeing his parents on senior day was certainly emotional just because I think, Will's journey it's kind of like anybody that comes through here. It's not all just a vertical climb to greatness. It was filled with a lot of peaks and valleys. And, I think one of the things I'm proudest of is his final season here it was filled with a lot of peaks, and you know, he had to battle through injury fall camp. You know, I'll still never forget last year. I mean, this guy had back surgery in the summer, you know, probably was close to medically retiring at that point. We get all those rash injuries at linebacker, he comes back in, and really kind of a shell of himself, but playing for the betterment of the team last year, and playing pretty good football for us in some big moments at the end of the season, and giving us a chance to kind of weather the storm at linebacker. And goes into the off season again, dealing with just a multitude of different injuries. And you know, you would say the last 2 games he played, you know, BYU, and man, how that guy was playing was elite football. And so, you know, I'm really appreciative of what he's been about, what he stood for. I think he would tell you who he is today. He's reached the full potential of what he's going to be. He's going to be really successful in life, and has certainly left a great legacy, and we're really grateful for what.
Matt, I'm assuming you expect to see a desperate Oklahoma State team this weekend. Is that something you address with the team and not looking at the record?
Yeah, I think that's a great thing about videotape evidence is, you know, our world is, you know, I think it's so hard in our sport today to even look at anybody's record, because the reality of what do you see on the videotape? And I think when you watch this Oklahoma State team, and all you gotta do is watch the last 2 games. I mean, how these kids are playing, it's a tribute to their leadership in their locker room. It's a tribute to the attitude and effort, and we know what Oklahoma State football is about. You know, it's a place that's got great pride, great tradition. It's gonna be senior day down there, and they've got great seniors playing great football right now. And so, you know, I think they're a football team that they're playing their best football right now of the year at the end of the season, and that's a tribute to that coaching staff that's there doing a great job, and honestly, they're veteran players, because you watch that football, that video, man, they're playing really good football, and it's going to be a test every step of the way. I think our kids know that though, and they've got enough respect for Oklahoma State, the battles we've had over the years. You might as well throw any record out, because it's going to take everything you got to be able to go win the football game and play our best football.
If you look at Oklahoma State, I mean, it's such a good team over the years. Is it kind of jarring from an outsider to see how quickly they felt, I don't want to say hard times, but you know, 2 years in a row where they just went from that to where they are now?
Yeah, I think college football's interesting times, man. Every week is different, every year is different, and you know, I don't know if it's jarring. I think you see a lot of really talented players that, you know, the ball hasn't bounced their way a couple times this year. So, but I think you see a team that's really talented, you know, in a lot of areas, and a team that I think is, like I said, inspired and playing their best football at the end, which is a real tribute. I think it's hard to play good football in November. You've got to be playing for something or have purpose, and this group certainly has it.
Caleb Bacon was a guy that didn't walk on senior day. Have you guys gotten a determination on him? Like, was it a medical red shirt last year?
Oh yeah, that was a quick determination. His ball will be back next year. So yeah, there's no determination. He'll be back. He's a junior, ready to go play senior football next year.
And then the injuries coming out last week. Xavier Townsend, what's his outlook look like in the safeties as well?
Yeah, so Xavier right now battling a wrist deal. I don't know what his availability will be this week. You know, we're still probably in question. I would probably say leaning more towards doubtful than hopeful with X. Trying to kind of figure out, you know, what exactly do we need to do with that, and is it something that can heal without surgery, or is it something that, you know, we may have to have surgery on? So he's battled it here the last couple of weeks, and X has done a great job battling through it and trying to give us everything he's got. And then, you know, at safety, I think we kind of probably stand exactly where we stood last week at this time. You know, I don't see, you know, unless something, you know, magical happens, anybody coming back. Josh Patterson's the guy that's probably the closest to being back. You know, he's probably the guy that truly does have a chance to play this week, and we'll kind of see where he's at by tomorrow's practice.
What are, I guess, your thoughts or feelings on playing an Oklahoma State team not coached by Mike Gundy?
Well, I think we've talked about my respect for Coach Gundy, just what he's meant to the Big 12. I think consistency of excellence for 20 years. I mean, 20 years, boy, that's like 40 years in today's world, right, of college football. I mean, so I think to me that is certainly unique. But again, I also know the fabric of the young men in that program and what that program's always stood for. And it's probably why there is no coincidence that I watch this video and I see this team and how hard these kids are playing. I think there are really good coaches on this staff. I think that you can tell that this staff has done a great job of keeping these guys together, and they've grown and gotten better. But obviously my respect for Coach Gundy and what he stood for and the longevity in college football, it's really hard to find. And I think any coach that's got the ability to even have some of that, boy, they did a great job in their career and made a huge impact.
We've talked a lot the last few years about the calendar and its influence on recruiting and the transfer portal, and it seems like the last couple weeks now it's been the influence on coaching, hiring, firing, coming, going decisions. I guess what are your thoughts on, what are you seeing from your peers in your profession on, is the calendar affecting this, or is that an excuse for decision making?
Oh, I'd probably say it's an excuse for decision making. The calendar's weird. It's a weird. Coach Aycock and I were talking about that a little bit this morning. Like, it's just such a weird time in terms of, just the uniqueness of where we're at. And I don't even know if we know where we're at. We get to be quite honest with you. I think there's so many unique sets this year with January portal. We'll see how that affects and changes things. I think the one thing we're excited about is you still got high school recruiting, and at least that calendar signing day is, I think, Wednesday, which we had recruits here this Wednesday and this past weekend. Somebody said, man, there's signing day next Wednesday. I said, holy cow. Which is probably, maybe I shouldn't say that, but the reality of it is that is real, and so that is a positive. But you got to adapt with the times, right? And you got to have the ability to adjust as you continue to build your programs. But I think the biggest thing is we are in a really unprecedented time, just in terms of all those things. And I think that's why, building your culture inside out is so critical. Knowing who you are, knowing what you stand for, I think those things are critical to at least giving yourself a chance to have sustainable success.
We've seen players leave playoff teams. The way things are going, could you see a coach leaving a playoff team? Generally speaking, not specific.
Those are. I don't have enough wisdom to answer that question. But boy, I think I would still say your priority, and at least I've always believed this, is if you're not putting all your focus energy on your team, your kids deserve that. And I think there's a lot of great humans in this industry, but the reality of it is, you coach and you ask these kids to build a journey, and that journey now is 1 year at a time. It used to be 4 years at a time, but the staying power to kind of stay focused on, putting together the best 12-game season that you can, and then let the chips fall where they may when the season comes to an end. So yeah, those are all great questions, and I probably have the same question. So I think those are great.
Another question about the calendar. You've been here for 10 years. You're now, I think, the second longest tenured coach in the Big 12 behind Coach Whittingham at Utah. You have a lot of experience. What would you like the calendar to look like if you had a magic wand to make it look your way?
Yeah, I think we're getting a little bit closer to where it should be. I still think it is unique. In the old world, you did like going out and recruiting in December a little bit because you'd love to be able to get into the homes of the young people that, you're bringing them to your school, and you'd like to figure out, who are they? How do they act around their families? And those things are things that I enjoyed. That's kind of been, negated a little bit with how the current calendar sits. But, I think having one transfer portal window is right. I still think signing day where it is right for young people. So I think we're getting closer. I just think, again, as you do any of these things, it just brings up different dynamics. And what are those dynamics, and how do you adjust and evolve with the dynamics that are kind of being put on you? So, like I said, this year will be unique with the one transfer window. What's it do? What are the implications of that? How do you handle that? I think those things are all really unique.
And maybe this is asking you to project too much, but with there being just one transfer portal that opens in the beginning of January, do you expect the month of December to be much different as far as kids maybe announcing their intent to enter the transfer portal, or just how that works in the month of December as it relates to transfer prospects?
I think we're all going to be doing that together a little bit, right? Obviously, I think that'll certainly be accelerated. And, if you're a young person that's the world you're going to live in, then, probably, those things have to happen. But it'll all be unique, and I wish I had a magic wand of even answering that. I think the expectation is, I go back to what I said to Travis: build your culture right, have real relationships with your kids, and try to have the best conversations you have. And if those are things that are going to happen, then try to help them the best way that you possibly can. That's really the only way I know how to handle it.
All right, Coach. Thanks for your
Awesome.
time.
Thanks, guys. Have a great Thanksgiving.